We're ready to see you, Mr. Gru.
Oh, good. Great.
Minions: The Rise of Gru is the new addition to the Despicable Me franchise,
This is the biggest day of my life.
and it is certainly shaking things up. Everyone's talking about that ending, so what does this really mean for the Minions? Number 1. Will Wild Knuckles be back? Wild Knuckles is the newest villain in A Tale About Villains, and this movie sure had us biting our nails wondering if Wild Knuckles would live on to throw another punch.
Oh, I didn't mean to scare you.
Once the fight was over, the character was in pretty bad shape. Even so, he lived long enough to be captured. While we were led to believe that he met his untimely end in prison, Gru later spotted him hiding behind a tree. Wild Knuckles went on to say that he'd faked the whole thing, and Gru, of course, aspires to fool the world in a similar way in the future.
You seriously think a puny little child can be a villain?
Yes, I am pretty despicable.
So, is Wild Knuckles gone for good? It sure doesn't seem like it. We bet we'll be seeing that guy again.
Are you pulling on my legs right now?
Number 2. What happened to the Vicious Six? Thanks to Gru and some serious teamwork, the members of the Vicious Six were rendered powerless and suffered the unfortunate fate of being turned into rats.
Why don't we make this a fair fight?
This ends the film's conflict, but it's interesting to note that this silly squad of villains wasn't necessarily defeated once and for all. We can't be sure we'll see these rats in future movies, but we've got a feeling we haven't seen the last of them either. Number 3. Ending Easter eggs. This may be a prequel, but that doesn't mean there's no trace of what's to come in this journey to the past. And this ending delivered some references to the Despicable Me movies that came before. In the end, Gru's pals tell him to shoot for the moon, which we all know he will certainly grow up to do. And speaking of the moon, during the post-credits scene, the heroes of this villain story fly off in a ship. Did that ship look familiar to you? Yep, that's Grumobile in the OG Despicable Me movie. Ah yes, it's all coming together. Number 4. Inside the post-credits scene. Speaking of that post-credits scene, if you haven't seen Minions: Rise of Gru yet, make sure you hit the bathroom before you take your seat in the theater, because you're gonna want to stay until after the credits roll. The post-credits scene is all about Dr. Nefario. The scene shows a young Gru and his minions visiting Dr. Nefario and doing some serious coaxing to get him to join them. Eventually he's convinced, and the whole team flies off in that familiar spaceship. We love a happy ending, or in this case, it's more of a happy beginning. Number 5. Good vs. Evil. This prequel's ending sets the stage for a story all about good and evil. In a movie about supervillains, is there really a good guy? Seeing how Gru grew to be the lovable ex-villain we know and love gave some insight into about who Gru really is. In the end, Minions: The Rise of Gru looks at what it means to be good versus evil. And the movie's ending proves that while Gru wants nothing more than to be the best at being a bad guy, he has too much care for those around him to ever be an actual villain.
I need a good night's sleep, so get out.
Oh.
Fine, because you had a nightmare.
Number 6. Teamwork makes the dream work. This movie's ending also proved that having the right people in your life can make all the difference. This film wasn't just Gru's origin story. It also captured the moment when he learned that he simply couldn't do it all alone. Gru learned all about trust and teamwork, and that he needs his team around to help him carry out his plans. And of course, leaning on the people around you is central to Despicable Me as a whole. The Minions may be wacky, but their loyalty is what friends are for.
Hey, mini-boss!
Guys!
Number 7. What's in store for Despicable Me 4? Despicable Me is currently the highest grossing animated film franchise in history, so it's safe to say you'll never have to go too long without a new addition to this fan-favorite story. The newest sequel, Despicable Me 4, is set to come out in July of 2024. And while we have to sit tight and wait to see Gru back in action, we've got a feeling that this latest prequel gave us some insight as to what we can expect to see in the future. Since Wild Knuckles is definitely not dead, it's pretty safe to say that we haven't seen the last of him. What that could mean for the next movie is unclear so far. And of course, we saw how Gru teamed up with Nefario and the Minions, so our faves are certainly going to be back come 2024. What's Despicable Me without the Minions, right?
I love you too.
Alright.
What are your thoughts on Minions: The Rise of Gru? What hints do you think the movie gave us for Despicable Me 4 and the future of our favorite characters? Tell us all about your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to The Things Animated for all the latest animation news.